friends, welcome to this week's DFU. Today we are continuing with the second class of our DFU semester. Just to remind you, a semester is multiple episodes on one subject. This class will not be like a normal DFU and instead we'll be continuing the discussion that we started in the first class. If you haven't watched that class, please go back, watch that, and then come back and enjoy this class with us today. But today, joining me is our professor, Chris, to tell us about all things Final Fantasy VII. This really is his one true love. This is his meaning in life.
It is.
So, Chris, how are you today?
Doing good. Doing good. Excited to get back at this. Yes. Very, very excited.
All right. So, it is entirely up to you, my friend. I think where we left off was they were at an underground room.
Underground room. Okay. In
Yep.
Tifa's bar.
And Cloud and Tifa are about to go on a mission together.
Cloud,
I
Tifa,
think
and
that's where
Barrett.
we left off. Is that right?
Yep. You are correct.
All right.
On a
Jump
mission
in.
to blow up Sector 5's reactor. We attacked
Yes.
Sector 1. Now we're heading to Sector 5. So there was a little spot that I missed, and that's because I thought it took place the morning of the next morning when they get ready to go to the mission, but it actually took place the night before they went to sleep. So we got to talk about that first, which is the well. The well. So at this point, so far, what you know is Cloud is this mercenary who is ex-soldier, which soldier was a part of Shinra, the elite force, if you will. And Barrett runs Avalanche, which is a terrorist organization against Shinra. So technically they shouldn't be working together, but Cloud is ex-soldier. And Tifa is part of Avalanche, and it seems like she might know Cloud. That's so far what we know. Anyways, so before they went to sleep, and Cloud was upset about the whole money aspect, and before him and Barrett got into the whole shouting match about it that we already discussed in the last episode, she says, "How could you forget, or how could you walk out on your childhood friend?" You didn't have this information before. So like I said, I thought it took place the next morning, but it doesn't. It takes place the night before. She says, "How could you walk out on your childhood friend?" Where you then have a chance to say ... sorry, or how could you say that? Both lead to a romantic, or both lead to somewhat possibly leading to the romance with Tifa. If you say ... sorry, I think it's like 0 for Tifa, but if you say, "How could you say that?" which is you showing that obviously you care about her, it's like +5 to Tifa or something like that. But anyways, so obviously we'll go with being romantic to Tifa because I'm Team Cloud Tifa. But anyways, so how could you say that? And then she goes, "So you forgot about the promise too, didn't you?" And then like they both kind of like do this whole. It's so funny too because it's like they're both thinking of the well, but the way they do it is like they're both there, even though it should just be like separate thoughts. But it's just funny. It's an old video game. But anyway, so it shows the well back in Nibelheim, which is where they both grew up and are both from. So now you got a little bit more into the story of Cloud and Tifa. They were childhood friends growing up. Definitely remember that as we move forward, because that plays a huge role. So, Cloud asked Tifa to come to the well because he wanted to share something with her. And I think at this point, they were really young kids. I want to say he's like 8. He might be younger than that. I want to say he might be 7. And she's 9, because I'm pretty sure she's like 2 years older than he is. I might be wrong about that. Hold on. Before I get busted on that one, we're about to look at these fucking ages right quick. Not the ages of the kids.
The part that matters.
Not the ages of the kids. Just I know Cloud's 21. I'm almost 100. Yeah, Cloud is 21. I was almost 100% sure about that. And for some reason, Tifa's age is not in here. Anyways, I'll look that up while we're talking. But anyways, I'm pretty sure Cloud is
not 14.
I'm pretty sure Tifa's actually older than Cloud. Anyways, which is actually funny that you say that, but we'll get into that way later on. It has to do with someone else that shows up later. Anyways, as I was talking, so he asked her to come to the well, and they're sitting there talking. They're both kids, and she's all like, "Hey, sorry, I'm late." And well, it starts off with them talking to each other, like, "Remember the well? Like, you know, the stars were out that night. Everything looked really, really pretty. So and so." Like they're kind of like talking to each other, and you're seeing like what they're imagining and what their memory is. And Cloud goes, "All I remember is the cold wind on my face because I didn't think you were coming because you were late." And then she's like, "Yeah, I remember showing up late." And so she comes walking around, and he doesn't say it like being a dick. He's just like, "That's the main thing I remember." And you'll start seeing Cloud's emotions as we dive later and later into it, because that's just kind of like how you figure it out in the game. So she talks about, or she goes, so why did you want to invite me out here? And he goes, I wanted to tell you something. He goes, I'm going to be leaving this summer and I'm not coming back. And she goes, what do you mean by you're leaving? And all the other boys are going to go get a job? And he's like, no, I'm not leaving like the rest of them to just go get some random job. I'm going to be in Soldier. I'm going to join Soldier and I'm going to become like my favorite first class soldier hero, Sephiroth. And Tifa goes, so you're going to become the great and amazing Sephiroth, huh? And he goes, yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to be in the papers and everything. Or no, she goes, so you'll be in the papers? He goes, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe. But I won't come back until I've made Soldier. And she goes, well, you have to come back. And he's like, why is that? And she goes, you have to make me a promise that no matter how famous you are, no matter how far away you get, if I'm ever in a pinch, my hero will come back and save me. Which they have not shown any kind of romance to each other at this point. But she's like, my hero will come back and save me. And he goes, yeah, I promise, I'll come back and save you. So then we come back out of the memory,
Okay.
back to present day Cloud and Tifa.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Anyway, and so we come back to present Tifa and Cloud, and Cloud's like, yeah. He's like, I didn't forget it. And he's like, and I guess I am here. And so basically that kind of like leads to him coming back to the team or joining Avalanche. Like that right there is kind of, he's like, I'm not really doing anything anyway. I'm just a mercenary. So he kind of doesn't really officially join Avalanche, but somewhat joins Avalanche. So they kind of go to or they get ready to go on the mission. Same people as last time, except Tifa's joining the party this time. So we've got Biggs, we've got Jesse, we've got Wedge and Barrett, and then obviously Cloud and Tifa. So they're on the train getting ready to head into the reactor. And what's cool is that the train system, the way it runs, is it runs through all the plates, which are the upper layers of Midgar, as I was telling you last time.
Mm-hmm.
What's actually really, really cool about it is it also runs through like the reactors and shit. So basically, they're taking the trains almost directly to the reactors, which kind of seems like a fault system due to the fact that they're a terrorist group and they're being led directly to the generators to blow up. But I mean, it's
a little convenient.
Anyways, but so they're being taken directly to it, and you kind of get to the exact same bridge that you got to last time in front of the last reactor to put the bomb down. And as they're walking up to it, it's Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett. Well, I guess we can talk. There wasn't really anything too crazy at the train scene, but I feel like if I don't talk about it,
Someone's gonna blab in the comments.
yeah, I mean, I don't remember anything significantly happened. I mean, there was a little flirting between Cloud and Tifa, so we'll talk about it. Fine. Anyways, they're on the train. I almost called you Tifa. They're on the train, Kelsey.
Uh-huh.
And Tifa basically is like, hey, Cloud, come check out the system with me. And so they go look at the system, and then as soon as he gets over there, like he's standing a little bit behind her, and then she's all like, oh, it looks like you already learned it, because you end up learning the system from Jesse the first time you're on the train. She goes, either way, come closer and you can look at it. You're already pretty close, but obviously it's kind of like her flirting with him. So he gets a little bit closer to her. They're pretty much like almost touching like her back to his stomach. So like they're sitting there looking, and then as soon as like they go to like look at the screen to check out the train system, the lights start going crazy, like red, just flashing on and off, on and off, on and off. And they're like, well, we haven't hit a security check yet, because there's a security check that happens that scans every single train cart to scan the IDs of every single person on the train. And if there's obviously someone who's not supposed to be on a train, they'll shut that part of the train down, and then they'll come and apprehend the person and take them to jail. So they're like, oh shit,
Okay.
security scan's happening. It's not supposed to happen for like another 3 miles or something like that. What's going on? And so like basically, and this is another part where like depending on who you want to get a romance with, it relies heavily whether you choose to get caught here or not. But basically, what they do is that the scan starts at the back of the train, so you're trying to beat the scan. So you keep running through all the way to get to the front of the train to get as far as you can, and then they plan to jump off of a moving train. So they plan to jump off this train. Anyways, so as they're running forward, what's funny is like you have like 10 seconds to clear a cart, or it will go into lockdown. Then you have to kind of like fight your way out, and then that's like you just jump off on that cart. I think if you want to, I think if you want to romance Tifa or Barrett, you have to make it all the way through without getting caught. So you have to get all the way. And what's funny about that is that there's actually a guy in a third cart who actually steals a good amount of money off of you, and the only way to get it back is to fight him. but you can't possibly kill him in 10 seconds and clear through the entire cart. So it's like you have to make a choice on which one you want to do, whether you want to fight the guy or not. But I mean, it's not too crazy of an amount, but still, it's something. And it's funny because he just walks past you, and then like it makes a little noise, and he just says hee hee, and he just keeps going, and you're like, you motherfucker. But anyways, it pisses me off whenever I'm really trying to get the romances, and I'm like, you son of a bitch, like I want to fucking tear you up right now. Anyways. But so you get to the front of the cart, and the funny part is like Tifa's like, hey, this is kind of scary, huh? And Cloud's like, it's not too bad. And then like Barrett immediately is like, hey, we don't have time for that, you two. It's time to get the fuck off this train. Like once again, that's Barrett's personality. I think you would think Barrett's a pretty fucking funny character. Like he's just a jackass. He's always yelling and he's always cussing. It's great. And so Tifa's like, okay, I'll go first. So she jumps off, and then Cloud's like, hey, are you okay with me going next? And then Barrett's like, I'm the leader. The leader stays on the ship until it sinks. Even though he jumps off the ship before Jesse, Wedge, and Briggs. But apparently they're in disguise, and they're going to ride the train all the way too and then meet them on the other side. So I just think it's funny that he's like, the captain goes down with the ship. It's like, yeah, but you also left 3 people on the ship too, so...
They're the people that matter, and they're the people that don't.
Yeah, true. You never get to play the other ones unless you cheat the game and do the new special mod that's out where you actually get to play as Jesse. But anyways, it's not important. So they jump off the train, and at that point, it's basically just a walk to the reactor, which that's not anything too crazy to talk about. So we have that whole scene, and then once again, now we're back to the reactor. So you end up getting through, you do a couple fights here and there or whatever, and then you get down to the bridge, and Cloud starts having that freak-out moment again, where, like I told you, the light starts flashing, that ear-piercing noise comes through, and that voice comes back through his head. And it's like, hey, do you remember this? And then he's still on the bridge, but now he's in another reactor. And it's the reactor in Nibelheim, his hometown. And in front of him is a young Tifa and her dead father on the ground with a gigantic katana sticking out of his chest. And Tifa's sitting there crying, saying, Cloud, I need you. Where are you? And then says, I hate Shinra. I hate Soldier. I hate Sephiroth. I hate everyone.
Ooh, okay, so Tifa's angry and hurt and traumatized.
A little bit. But the main things to pay attention to there were the fact that Sephiroth's name was part of that. And Soldier was part of that as well. Anyways, so moving on. She then grabs the sword and runs into the reactor, and as Cloud puts his hand up to say no, all of a sudden he's back to where he's normally supposed to be. And then Tifa's like, hey, are you okay? And Barrett's like, hey, dude, get your fucking shit together. We gotta hurry up and get out of here. And then Cloud's like, Tifa, do you... Never mind. We gotta do this. So he was about to talk to her about it, and then decided not to. So he goes over there, plants the bomb. They go to leave. Him and Barrett get into an argument about which way they should go. Barrett chooses to go to, it's kind of like a T bridge section. Barrett chooses to go to the left part of the T. They get ambushed by soldiers. Comes back, and out comes no one other than President Shinra himself, the big bad CEO. And does Barrett have a few choice cuss words to throw his way? That's for fucking sure. Barrett starts losing his shit. And, calling him all these names. Cloud kind of pushes him back, and he's all like, President, I haven't seen you in a while. And he's all like, oh, you're that guy that keeps claiming that you left Soldier. He's like, what was your name again? He's like, it's me, Cloud. And he goes, I don't remember your name. But unless you were a Sephiroth, there's really no point. At which Cloud then goes, Sephiroth, like as in he's kind of confused by the name. And before anything gets to happen, all of a sudden this gigantic machine comes out. And President Shinra goes, it doesn't matter, I've got a new toy to play with you anyway. And then he kind of flies off in his helicopter, and this gigantic robot separates Cloud from Tifa and Barrett. And once again, you gotta remember, Cloud's Soldier first class, he's easily the strongest out of them, so he's the big number. They obviously need his help for a lot of the shit. So they end up fighting this guy, and it ends up exploding, but it also explodes the same time that the bomb did. Or no, wait, he defused the bomb. The president defused the bomb. So that way it would... No, the bomb did blow up. That's right. Because he does do something to one of them. But this one blew up. That's right. Anyways, so the robot blows up, but it blows up half the bridge. Barrett and Tifa are safe, but Cloud is now hanging off the edge. To which he says, I can't hang on anymore, and you get like a cool little like cinematic of Tifa like, Cloud, please don't fall, and shit like that. You get a few choice words to get Baird on a date, which is pretty funny because you can say, you look Baird in the eyes and say, be strong, or the other option is to say, I can't hold on anymore, at which Baird just berates you and says, quit whining. You gotta pull yourself up or something like that. He just starts making fun of Cloud, which is pretty funny. The other one is like, okay, hold on, I'll help you or some shit. But before Barrett gets a chance to try to do anything, the reactor then blows up, sending Cloud plummeting all the way down to the slums. Which, once again, as I told you, they're on the floating part of the city. It's a pretty fucking far fall.
How does he survive that?
It's pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting. Well, it's called this little thing called plot.
And right now he's needed, so he can do anything. Cool.
Right.
Yeah. Bulletproof. Fun.
Right. As you learn what more of what Soldier is, this might come a little bit more to he's pretty durable. Cloud's pretty durable. He probably still should have died, but
he's like a hefty bag.
Yeah, he's pretty durable. Anyways, so Cloud falls through a roof. And all you hear is breaking wood, and then the whole screen goes pitch black. Then,
okay,
the voice comes back and saying, "Hey, wake up. Are you okay?" Cloud. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Who are you?" And he's all like, "You took a fall back there. Can you get up?" "Yeah, no, I'm fine. But who are you?" But the voice is not answering him. It just keeps asking if he's okay. And then all of a sudden you see like another voice saying, "Hey, you. Hey, are you okay? Hey, you, wake up." And then Cloud finally opens his eyes to find Aerith. We finally get the official introduction of the Flower Girl. He has crashed through her church and landed directly on her flower bed.
Oh, no you don't.
At which the game describes... Not how you make friends. At which the game describes, and by the game I mean Aerith, that it must have been the flowers that broke Cloud's fall. I figured you'd get a kick out of that one.
I call ever so slight horseshit on that, but continue.
Yeah, just a tad. Just a little bit. So, yeah, that's always
damn hardy flowers.
Yeah, those fucking flowers, man. I mean, they came in at the perfect time, and I forgot to be posting some of this shit, by the way. That was our lovely well scene, by the way. Just so you knew what was kind of going on. Like I said, they were both there with their younger versions. As you can see, little Cloud up top and little Tifa down there sitting next to Tifa. And Cloud over there being mopey, as always. Anyways.
Wow.
What?
Most of the things that you've sent me have been very, have been much further along in the graphical elements. This is very blocky.
This is literally what the game looked like. This is 100% gameplay footage right here. This is not a cutscene.
This is the game that you've played
thousands of times.
100 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Love every second of it.
Of course.
Seeing this the way that you're seeing it should give you so much hope that that's how amazing this story is. To have bad of graphics, but to have such an amazing story that it literally just makes the graphics irrelevant to me, and I'd play the game anyway, should give you hope that this story is obviously pretty fucking good. So,
it must be.
Yeah, because that is 100% game graphics right there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Love it. Although, once again, Final Fantasy VII is so beloved that fans have actually went out of their way and have made HD remakes to buffer out the graphics to where the game actually looks insane. It actually looks insane. As close as you possibly could to a remaster, if you will, not a remake. There's quite a difference. But yeah. Anyways, back to our...
And just to double check, which one of the blobular polygons is Tifa?
So
in this?
Both of those are Tifa on the left. The older Tifa is the one with the red boots, the black skirt, and the white tank top. Little Tifa is the one in the dress.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Anyways, And then I'll post another picture of Aerith's church in there too, just in case you forgot about that, and the lovely flower bed that Cloud decided to fall down on and ruin. Anyways,
Aw.
so he gets up and basically Aerith asks, "Do you remember me?" Because she remembers him. Once again, if you're trying to go on the hardcore date with Tifa, you need to be as rude to Aerith as possible here and be like, "Yeah, I don't remember you. I don't know what you're talking about." Or you could be nice to her and just be nice to her. But anyways, so we'll go ahead and play. I'm gonna play. So once again, I'm trying to do this the way that it was done in the game. And in the game, as I've already explained, there was kind of a love triangle. So we're gonna kind of play both sides of the field here, because it's kind of how the game was meant to be played versus just focusing on one romance. And there's a very specific reason why. Before you start judging it, there's a very specific reason
No.
why.
I have a question
Go
rather
ahead.
than a judgment.
Go ahead.
Which relationship is canon?
Well, that's up to the fans.
Well, no, because it seems like okay. Point. You keep saying if you want to take Tifa on a date, you have to be a complete asshole to Aerith.
Mhm.
So it sounds like the game's leaning more towards Aerith being canon as opposed to Tifa.
But
'Cause
if you want
wanna
to take
Aerith
Aerith
on a
on date,
date,
you have to be a complete dick to Tifa. Yes.
Okay, so
The only
whoever
reason
you don't want to romance, be a dick to literally everyone else.
Right. The only reason why it's such a bigger play to be meaner to Aerith is because when the game starts, and this might feel like it solidifies your point a little bit more, but it honestly doesn't. And there's a lot of reasons why, and the reasons why is because there's spoilers.
I believe you.
But Aerith actually starts out with a base of 150 Infinity Torch Cloud, which means we'll say love Torch Cloud, 150 love, to where Tifa only starts out with 50. So you have to be a lot more meaner to Aerith early game in order to get her affinity down, so that way you can continue to get Tifa past her. Because if you continue to keep being nice to Aerith, it's going to keep boosting that affinity that's already 100 above Tifa's.
And is that just because you have a lot more contact with Tifa throughout the whole game, and so you have more opportunity to build that up? And if they didn't do that for Aerith, you just wouldn't have the opportunity to ever date her ever.
Well, without giving away any plot here, I can explain the first half of this. When the game was first designed, the only members of the game were supposed to be Cloud, Aerith, and Barret. Tifa was not a character designed for this game. Everybody else that is a character designed for this game was not designed for this game. And then other things go on plot-wise to where they started to think maybe we need other characters to do other things to kind of bring this character Cloud into full perspective. So whenever the game was first created, it was just supposed to be those three characters.
That is very interesting.
Because as I've already told you, Cloud obviously has some emotional issues. I've already said that from the get-go. A lot of people say that he's emo, but he's not. And like I said, as we go forward, you'll kind of see what the fuck's going on. Tifa was legitimately created as Cloud's childhood friend to be that rock to kind of help him find himself.
Okay.
And that will become more apparent as we go on with the story. So like I said, without giving away plot, I feel like that's as tiptoey-ish as I can be around that. So that's why Aerith started out with a lot more, because it was legitimately just supposed to be her and Cloud. And once again, Barret was the leader of Avalanche, and that's how I guess they tied the tie to where Cloud is now against Shinra. I don't know how that story would have worked, honestly. I really fucking don't. The Cloud and Aerith make sense to me because I know the rest of the story and you don't. I don't know how the Barret thing would have worked, because if it wouldn't have been for Tifa, like Cloud would not know anything about Barret or Avalanche. But okay, anyways, doesn't matter. Moving forward, so basically, like I said, we'll play the game as far as how I'll explain the story as far as how the game developers wanted the game to be played. So we're gonna be nice to Aerith. Anyways, so you say, yeah, I remember you. You were the girl out front selling flowers. She goes, oh yes, you bought one. Did you like it? And it's like, yes, I love flowers. So they, have a conversation about flowers for a little bit, and all of a sudden you see this weird guy in a tuxedo or not a tuxedo, but a blue suit come walking in. And you turn around and look at him, and he's just standing there staring at you and Aerith. And then Aerith's all like, well, we can have this conversation somewhere else. Do you want to go? And then Cloud's kind of like, well, I mean, who is this person type deal, Like, why? What are you worried about? And then Cloud, you can go up and talk to him, but all he says is, don't mind me. And so you go back and talk to Aerith, and Aerith's like, "Hey, Cloud, have you ever thought about being?" Well, Cloud tells her he's a jack of all trades because she asks what he does in Midgard, since he knows that she sells flowers. He's like, "I'm a jack of all
Mm-hmm.
trades, and I kind of do a little bit of everything." And so she goes, "Have you ever been a bodyguard before?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And she goes, "Okay, well, would you be my bodyguard now?" And then Cloud starts to laugh, and he's like, "Well, it will cost you." And she goes, "Well, how about you? How about one date for you to be my bodyguard and get me home safe tonight?" And then Cloud's like, okay, I guess. And so then Cloud goes and talks to Tifa, and he's like, "Hey, I don't," or he's like, "Hey," and before he can say anything, Rena goes, "I don't know who you are." And then all of a sudden, the voice in Cloud's head pops back in again, not without all the ringing and red shit going on. It's like, "But I know you." And then Cloud's like, "Yeah, but I know you." And then the guy kind of looks at him weird, and he goes, "That outfit, you're one of the Turks." And I know we've talked about the Turks before, very briefly, and we'll get into
Mm-hmm.
those a little bit more now that they're starting to come into play. This guy, his name is Reno, and he is one of the Turks. uh, so basically, he goes, "Don't worry about me. You just continue doing what you're doing. I'm just here to make sure that the little lady's safe." And so Cloud's like, "Well, she's got a bodyguard, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll take care of that." And then Aerith's like, "Come on, let's just leave. Let's just leave." So Cloud and Aerith walk out the back past the flowers, and you see a couple of Shinra soldiers come in behind Reno as they start to move to follow Cloud and Aerith. The funny part is that Reno steps over the flowers, like steps on them as he's walking to go like
Oh.
get to Aerith and Cloud, and
Mm-hmm.
he stops and he's all like, "Hey, knuckleheads, follow me. Let's track them down and don't step on the flowers." Or no, and don't ruin the flowers is what he says. And then like all the guards are like, "But you just walked over them. What are you talking about?" It's hilarious because they do try to add comedy in, which is pretty fucking funny every once in a while.
Okay, so it does happen
It does
occasionally where they're
happen,
just like,
yeah.
okay.
Exactly. They're like, "But you just did that." Anyway, so it then turns into this whole thing where they're trying to capture Aerith, and Claude has no idea why. He asks her, he's like, "Why are they trying to capture you?" And she goes, "Well, they've been after me ever since I was a little girl." And so then you have this whole thing happen to where like you have to basically protect her and get her away from the Turks safely and get her back home to her home in sector 5, 6, 5. Anyways, because that's where the church is at. You're in sector 5 slums. That's right, sector 5. Anyways, so actually, instead of just sending you a picture of Reno, I'll just upload the picture that I have of the full Turk team because we'll talk about a couple of them as we move forward.
Yeah, you're gonna give me more information on the Turks.
When we kind of get there, we're about to get to that point. But basically, the Turks is an organization that works for Shinra. The guy very up front with the baton in his hand and his tongue sticking out, the red hair, that's Reno. That's our
That
guy.
guy.
Yep, that's our guy that showed up. Actually, in this picture, you can actually see Cloud holding a gun right there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I think you've seen a picture of Sephiroth at some point,
Is
but
that the dude way in the back with the ridiculously long thin sword?
with a long katana. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've showed you a picture of Sephiroth at some point. Anyways, that's Sephiroth, in case you didn't know. And that's the sword that Tifa pulled out of her father's stomach.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Plot starts to thicken. Anyways, so moving on. So basically, you get away from the Turks, and the funny part is that Cloud asks her again. He's like, "So why are you being hunted by the Turks? Why do they want you?" And she goes, "I don't know. Maybe they want me to join and be a part of Soldier." And Cloud, being a part of Soldier, thinks this is funny. He's like, "Haha, you think you have what it takes to be cut for Soldier?" So he goes, "I mean, why wouldn't, or why else would they be after me? I mean, look at me." And he's like, "Oh yeah, Prime Soldier." So they start running, and she keeps yelling at him the time because she's in a dress. She keeps yelling at him the entire time, like, "Hey, wait up, wait for me." And so he'll stop and wait, and she'll catch up, and he'll be like, "What happened to Little Miss Soldier? I thought you were cut out to be in Soldier. Why am I have to stop and keep waiting for you?" And then they both start laughing. Like I said, they definitely try to throw comedy in the game a lot. It's pretty cool. So
Okay.
they end up getting away from the Turks, and Cloud gets her safely back home. So they get home, and Tifa invites him in, and she immediately calls for her mom. And her mom comes down, and she's all like, "Sorry." She's like, "This is my friend Cloud." She goes, "Oh." She's like, "Who's Cloud?" She goes, "He was my bodyguard." And she goes, "Were you in trouble again?" And she goes, "Yeah, they were after me." And she goes, "I can't believe that they were, harassing you again." She goes, "Well, thank you so much, Cloud, for getting Aerith home safe." Um, And then Cloud then goes, "Oh yeah, no problem." And he's like, "So I need to go ahead and get back to Tifa's bar, the Seventh Heaven, in the Sector 7 slums. Do you know how to get there?" And Aerith's like, "Yeah, I'll take you." And he goes, "Well, that kind of doesn't make sense for you to take me if I just brought you
Yeah.
home." She goes, "Yeah, but it's really dangerous, and you're gonna need me to go." And he's all like, "I mean, but," and once again, the game is a little dated. But he's all like, "Me needed protection from a girl. I thought I was your bodyguard." She goes, "Excuse you. I could do fine for myself. Don't worry about me." And he goes, "But you just hired me to be your bodyguard." She goes, "Well, I thought you needed help to get out of there too." So, I mean, she gives just as much as she gets, which is pretty cool. Anyways,
Okay.
so, um, which I do want to go ahead and say, just for people who are watching, that is one thing that the director has been very open about, is that because obviously the game getting a remake and people are wondering, like, outfits and stuff like that, the way Tifa's
Yeah.
look is designed. They've been very open about the fact that they've never sexualized any of the characters, which they didn't. None of the teammates do that whatsoever. None of them treat
Mhm.
them any different. Like, they're all part of a team. They make jokes, they stab at each other and stuff like that, but that's about it. And I do want to say, like, that is 100% like fact. I've played the game 1,000 times. I know. So, like I said, for anybody who's tuning in and thinks that they might be getting a different image of Cloud by some of the stuff he's being said or something like that, it's all fun and games. It goes back and forth. The game is dated. Came out in 1997. But once again, none of the characters are treated less value than any other character besides, obviously it's up to the player. So at that point, if you don't want the player to be on your team. So,
Mhm.
anyways, moving forward. So, the mom immediately goes, "Well, I mean, it's kind of getting late. Why don't you guys stay here tonight, and then you can head out tomorrow in the morning when it's a little bit safer." And Cloud's like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." So she's like, "Aerith, do me a favor, go up and make a bed for Cloud." So as Aerith goes up to make a bed for Cloud, Aerith's mother pulls him aside and says, "Do me a favor and leave here tonight without Aerith." And Cloud's like, yeah, sure, okay." And she goes, "You're from Shinra, right?" And he goes, "Well, I'm not from Shinra." She goes, "Yeah, but you were part of Soldier." And he's like, "How do you know that?" She's like, "I can tell because you have that Mako energy glow in your eyes."
Hmm.
And he goes, "Yeah, no, I was part of Soldier." She goes, "That's all Aerith needs is to get caught up in this Soldier business again and get her heart broken again."
Again.
Mm-hmm. Again.
Hmm.
Exactly. Plot thickens a little bit more. Anyways, so then that conversation kind of ends awkwardly, like right there, and then Cloud goes up to go get some sleep. So now you need to sneak out of the room while Aerith is asleep in order for you to go back. But what's interesting is that Cloud lays on the bed and he's all like, or that voice starts talking to him in his head again. It's like, "Wow, staying here probably wasn't a bad idea." And Cloud's like, "Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been able to sleep on a bed like this ever since." And then we get a flashback of Cloud being back home with his mom whenever he went back to Nibelheim. Back to Nibelheim, not when he was a kid, after he had already made Soldier.
Mhm.
As he's laying down on the bed and his mom's walking around, and his mom cracks me up. She's like, "Are you eating well? Are they feeding you well? You should eat something." He's like, "No, I'm not really hungry." Cloud's, once again, his famous, not interested. So she's all like, "I'm sure the girls were all over you. Look at you, big, strong, handsome man." And he's all like, "Yeah, not really." And then she's like, "You need to settle down and get you a good girlfriend. That's what you need to do. You need to date someone that's older than you, someone that will take care of you. That's what you need." And he's like, "Yeah, not interested." And and then it just, like, he wakes up and he's like, "Oh wow, I must have dozed off." And so you go to sneak out of the room. It's actually funny because you actually have to make your character walk. Because if you don't walk, you'll run, and it wakes up Aerith. And then she immediately goes, "Hey,
Oh.
we have a dangerous trip ahead of us tomorrow. Get some sleep."
Mhm.
And then you got to go back to sleep and then try to sneak out again. Eventually, you sneak out and you get out and you start heading towards the way that Aerith kind of explained on how to get back to Tifa's bar. As you're heading back up that way, you run into Aerith. Somehow she magically Houdini'd herself out of the house and beat you when there's literally only one way out from where she is. But hey, plot, right?
He fell through a church. Like,
True.
plot whatever they need it to be.
True. Anyways, so basically, her and Cloud get kind of into an argument about, like, "Hey, you're supposed to stay. This is too dangerous." Once again, her saying, "Hey, I'm a big girl. I can take care of myself. Don't worry about it." and decides to just start walking whether Cloud's going to follow or not, which, let's face it, we all know he's going to. So he starts to
Mhm.
follow her as she's taking him through the Sector 5 and 6 slums in order to get back to Sector 7. Um, anyways, so as they're walking, she goes, wait, I want to see if this is still here. And he's like, if what's still here? They end up walking onto a kid's playground. And she's obviously been there before as a kid. And she ends up jumping on top of this kind of like cat looking thing, but it's got like a slide coming out of its mouth.
Mhm.
And she tells Cloud to get up there with her. And this is kind of like your first like romantic moment with Cloud and Aerith as they're sitting there. And she goes, so you're really from Soldier, huh? And he goes, yeah. And she's all like, because I could tell from the Mako in your eyes. And he goes, yeah, that's definitely something that happens to everybody that goes to join Soldier. And she goes, yeah, your eyes remind me of his. And he goes, who? And she goes, my last boyfriend. And he goes, oh, were you serious? And she goes, never mind, I don't want to talk about it. And at that moment, Cloud goes to ask another question, and then the doors behind them open up, these gigantic metal doors, and you see this chocobo come out, pulling a carriage. Yes, a chocobo drawn carriage. I know, it's great, right?
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. How fucking supposed to picture it. Um,
That's so adorable.
a chocobo drawn carriage, although you might not appreciate it as much because, once again, this is in-game graphics here. So, the
That's a good
blockitude.
point.
The blockitude. It's so great. I love it. I love it.
Ugh, geometric shapes.
You gotta stop hating. Anyways, but as the cart comes out and it's being drawn, if you look on the very back of the cart, you see a lady in a blue dress, which Cloud instantly, as you can see, that's Cloud and Aerith on top of the slide there. Cloud has stood up because the carriage came out and startled him.
He
Um,
just like his arms.
yes, they're great. They're great.
Oh, that's amazing. Please continue. I'm sorry.
And that was their way of thinking that that made him look strong. I was like, where all the muscles are supposed to be, they're not. The bi
Yeah,
is completely flat, where the shoulder is completely huge, and the tricep is just engorged beyond belief, matching right into his hands.
as a woman who's super into arms, I'm not gonna lie, that would not do a thing for me. If I saw that in person, I'd be like, and I'm never because you're
There's
clearly an alien.
somebody, and I don't know who it is, and I want to say it might be a Dead Funny team member, but whenever I was talking about Final Fantasy VII, they said, oh, is that the game where it looks like the character has tumors for his arms? And I was like, honestly, I don't think that's the first time I've ever heard somebody explain it that way. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
That sounds like something Cody would say. That's
I feel
amazing.
like it could have been Cody. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it could have been Cody. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. And then just so that way you also had the picture. There's the actual picture of the adorable moment of them both sitting on the thing together and having the conversation in the dock.
I'm overwhelmed.
I know, right? It's crazy. Anyways, so to notice about the carriage, Tifa is on the back of the carriage, all dressed up and prettied up. Last time Cloud saw Tifa was before he, somewhat fell to his death. At least that's what, Tifa and Barrett think. So Cloud immediately yells Tifa, but it doesn't sound like she hears him at all. And once again, Aerith knows that Tifa is a girl in Cloud's life. Doesn't know necessarily their status depending on what, choices you choose up to that point, because that point does actually happen in her church. Yes. No. In her house. It's in her house because he goes, I need to get back to Tifa's bar, and she goes, oh, who's Tifa? And he goes, a friend of mine. And then she goes, a girl? ... friend? And then you can choose yes or no. It's up to you. If you say yes, obviously, good points to Tifa, and negative points to Aerith. If you say no, neutral points to Tifa, good points to Aerith. Anyways, so she at least knows Tifa at this point, regardless of your choice. She goes, oh, wait, hold on, that's Tifa? And then the carriage keeps going. She immediately jumps off and runs over there, and Cloud goes, wait, where are you going? She goes, well, we have to go figure out where she's going, right? And she ends up running after her, and then obviously Cloud runs after her, which leads you into Wall Market. And as we get closer to wrapping up here, Wall Market, I feel we can kind of speed through a little bit. Yes, it's called Wall Market,
Oh, God.
where there's
Continue.
tons of stores Once again, I think this is funny solely for the fact of how I've told you earlier how with the whole corporation killing the planet, how Japan sees us over here. Walmart is a place that has multiple different stores where you can buy pretty much anything you possibly want for extremely low prices. Is dark and deep, prostitutes, that sort of thing going on. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh.
I wasn't going to prostitutes for obvious reasons. I don't
Actually,
go
it's
to
more
Walmart
of a brothel. It's called
for
the
that purpose.
Honeybee Inn. Yep, this is actually a thing. So what we're about to dive into, and I'm going to explain this as strictly as I can towards the game. I don't want anybody to get any misconceptions about what I'm about to say, because we have now arrived to the most controversial scene in the game. Those of you who have played the game know what I'm talking about. Those of you who not played the game don't know what I'm talking about, but we're about to get there because I feel we're going to go run through Walmart pretty quickly. And that's because there's really not that much to do. So basically, you end up following Tifa all the way, or well, actually, you lose track of Tifa, and you end up going over to the Honeybee Inn, I think is what it's called. I know it's Honeybee something. I think it's the Honeybee Inn. But anyways, that's the brothel I was telling you about, or the girl club. You show up and basically hear that a Carriage is bringing in some new girls for the Honeybee Inn. But tonight's a special night because the Honeybee Inn is owned by the most crooked crime lord in the slums, Don Carino, and tonight is his night where he chooses out of 3 girls to sleep with him, and if they're good enough, he'll choose them as his wife. Yes, Tifa is one of those girls that was selected.
Oh, good. Great.
So you immediately run up to Don Carino's place, and Aerith gets invited in, but Cloud does not, because only girls are allowed to be able to go in and see the Don. At which this point, Aerith comes up with the grand idea for Cloud to dress as a girl in order to get in to Don Carino's. Once again, very controversial part of the game coming up here. Not only do you get to dress Cloud up as a girl, there are multiple different questionable items that you can collect doing very questionable things in order to make Cloud look more and more appealing as a female. Because that actually is an achievement in the game, is to get Don to choose Cloud over Tifa or Aerith. He has the ability to pick any of them, but depending on how many of these items you get, he's pretty close to guaranteed to get Cloud. First thing is the dress. You got to get a dress. And the issue there is that the dressmaker's daughter lets you know that her dad is a drunk now, and you have to basically get him out of his slump in order to make a dress, because he's who makes the dress, she just sells the dresses. So you go and tell him, which he pokes a lot of fun at Cloud for the fact that he's making a dress for Cloud. Go in there and automatically Aerith is like, let me talk to him. She's like, hey. Well, first, she does it completely different. She tells the dressmaker that Cloud has always dreamed of being able to wear a dress, but it was too shy to ask for one, so it had her ask for him. To which he goes, you mean that muscly arm man over there? Doesn't seem like the type. And she goes, trust me, he really wants this. At which Cloud then goes, what are you telling him? And she goes, nothing. Mind your own business. So then he goes, well, this has been something I've always kind of wanted to work on. This will definitely test my talents, so I'll get right away on it. So he goes to make the dress for Cloud. Also gives you a tip that he has a friend that could possibly give you a wig who works out at the gym. So you go to the gym and find nothing but these gigantic muscly arm men and this really small woman. I don't really know the full story of the gym. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure all of them dress up as women at some point in their life. I'm pretty sure that's how they all bond at the gym. In order to get this wig, you have to beat one of the guys at a squat competition. Judging on how well you do, if you beat him, you get the good wig, which you get from the lady. If you tie, you get the old dusty wig, which is just underneath the stage. And if you lose, you get a wig that gets pulled out of a very questionable space. And that questionable space is in the pants of the guy that you lost the squat competition to. And not from the back, but from the front. Yeah.
So this has been a thoroughly teabagged wig that you're about to
Oh,
put on your head.
absolutely. Absolutely. This dude was working up a sweat before and during the competition, and that's the wig you get if you lose the squat competition.
Well, that is motivation to not lose the squat
Oh, for
competition.
sure. And once again, if you want Don Carino to pick Cloud, you got to get the better stuff, obviously. Anyways, so that's how you get the wig. The way you get the perfume is actually pretty funny. There is, if you go to eat at this restaurant, they're given one free ticket to the pharmacy. If you take the ticket to the pharmacy, you get to pick one of these three items, which is deodorant. I think, fucking Tylenol. It's not actually Tylenol, but like, headache cure or whatever the fuck they called it in the game. I think it's that. I'm not 100% sure about that one. But the other one is digestive. You go back to the bar and you see a dude doing the pee-pee dance saying that there's someone who's taking up the bathroom and they've been in there for a long time. You knock on the door to hear a woman saying, "I'll be a minute." You knock on the door again to her open the door saying, "Mind your own business." And then you knock on the door again to her saying, "What do you want?" At that point, you then choose, you can give her one of the items that you chose to get. Hopefully you got the digestive, because I'm pretty sure you can only do this once. I might be wrong on that. You give her the digestive, and she's so thankful that you have now gotten her off of this toilet that she gives you the sexy perfume, which is the best out of all the ones to get. Obviously. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is not where I saw that going, but okay.
Nope. So you get your sexy perfume. Then we head over to quite one of the most questionable aspects of this entire wall market run, if you haven't already been questioning any of the things that have happened so far. We go over to the Honeybee Inn, to where Cloud gets access, which is funny because he makes fun of the fact that Aerith can't go in there because she's not a man. At which, when Cloud goes in, all the creeps that are being rejected outside of going on the Honeybee Inn decide that they're going to flock around Aerith and try to start hitting on her and everything else as he's inside the club. Nothing happens to her. Nothing happens to her. I'll go ahead and say that out loud. Nothing happens to Aerith.
Good.
She's just a little freaked out. They don't touch her, anything like that. They're just basically standing around her drooling. As she's standing there going, excuse me?
Ugh.
Unfortunately, the real terror is more of what happens to Cloud. Judging on what room you go in, you get a certain either bikini bottom, sexy lingerie, or just regular panties.
Okay.
Obviously, you want to go for the sexy lingerie, which honestly is the better part out of all of them. The least weird part. There are 4 rooms. One room is for sure locked. What's really weird is that, or no, 2 rooms are locked. So there's 5 rooms. 2 rooms are locked. One of them, I'm pretty sure an exorcist is going on in that room. I'm not 100% sure.
An actual exorcism?
An actual exorcist. It's not even an actual exorcist. Someone is summoning a demon, I'm pretty sure. While the rest of them are playing out some kind of medieval play and are dressed as like a king and a knight. And you're peeking at all this through a keyhole, by the way. You get to peek through the keyhole to see all this going on. Why this was made in the game, I don't know. I don't know what they had planned for this. I really don't. The other one that's kind of questionable is that if you peek through the other keyhole, you hear a very familiar theme that you don't hear until later on in the game. But once you hear it later on in the game, and notice that this theme is directly tied to a character, which if you look hard enough, you see a very miniature version of this character, which if we want to look at our full team picture again that we had way later, Mr. Katesith, the gigantic Moogle, if you will, is what they're called, with a cat riding on him. Mr. Katesith is in there, a very, very small, tiny version of Mr. Katesith, saying Grandma and Grandpa, which if you look all the way over to the left, and once again, we are in a brothel here. There is a old woman and an old man over there, and their grandson. So I'm not really sure what is happening in this room at all. At all. Just no idea what's going on. So those 2 rooms are very questionable. I don't remember what it is to get the panties. But to get the sexy lingerie, which I strongly suggest, if you don't want to know what's going to happen to Cloud, you might want to tune out after I explain this room. If you never want to know what happens to Cloud, I strongly suggest you only go for the sexy lingerie. To get the sexy lingerie, you get in a room. Cloud gets in there and immediately has one of his episodes again and passes out. You wake up to a very strong and very oiled man and very naked man, except for only in a Speedo, standing over you while you're passed out under bed, and he's slapping your cheeks to wake you up. You wake up hearing that he was the person that was supposed to come in the room to do whatever was going to happen in that room with you, and says, well, you passed out. I'm just glad you're okay, but your time is up, and then he walks out. At which then the lady feels sorry, and then she gives you the sexy, one of the bee ladies, because they're wearing little bee outfits, because the honeybee in, feels sorry for you and gives you your sexy lingerie. The other one, which to this day, I'm really not sure what happened. But to get to bathing suit, Cloud has to get in a hot tub with not one, not two, but 8 of these big, muscular men in their Speedos.
All right.
And they're all behind him. He's not naked. He's in his clothes. But the screen goes black, and you hear a lot of bump, 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 ow, ow, ow. So I'm not sure what happened. And to this day, I still don't know what happened. But that's how you get the swimsuit. And I don't really like talking about that part. Because once again, I'm not sure what happened. And I'm going to keep my innocence. I'm going to say nothing happened. And I'm pretty sure nothing happened. Because once again, Cloud's personality with being the main point of 2 female love interests doesn't seem like it goes that way. So we're going to go ahead and continue to stick on a straight and narrow here due to the fact that Cloud's personality doesn't swing that way due to the story. But anyways, that's how you get your swimsuit if you don't want to get the sexy lingerie. Before you leave, you can also go talk to the little bee ladies in their locker room, which they all call you a perv for walking in there, even though they're fully dressed. But if you talk to the far left one multiple times, she'll then offer to make you pretty and powders your face for you before you leave and puts makeup on before you go to try on your dress. All this has to be done before you try on the dress, by the way, for people who are planning on playing the game. If you try on the dress, you automatically continue the story with the dress on and can't get the rest of the stuff, I believe. You go straight to Don Carino after that. So you need to do all this first, then go try on the dress. Anyways, so you go back to the dress shop, try on the dress, see how it all fits, see how it all works, and then you go to Carino's. And now we're getting close to Wall Market here, so we can wrap up. So, y'all stand out in front. Aerith looking like a bomb because she got to pick a dress, because she made the dressmaker so happy that he got to get his groove back by doing something that tested his skills. The legendary dressmaker. So she got to pick what she wanted. She's looking bombshellish. You go in there, Tifa's already looking stunning. The best part is that the guy tells you not to go anywhere. He's going to go tell the boss that his other 2 women are here. Aerith goes straight into detective mode and says, let's go find Tifa. Cloud then follows. You go downstairs into this, what appears to be a sex dungeon, which I'm pretty sure, and when I say dungeon, I do mean dungeon. We're talking brick walls, table. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, the game's a little dark at first, but it lightened.
I was going to say, this got real dark and rapey, and I don't know that it needed to.
I don't disagree. Wall Market is a place that a lot of fans had to endure, and some of us wish we could forget. Some of us wish we could forget Wall Market. But at the same time, that was one of the biggest things is that's on all the forums, is whether or not they think that scene will come over in the remake with today's world.
Yeah, in today's climate, this is a very This is just a very different climate.
And I believe that the directors actually came out and said that they don't plan on taking the scene out of the game. To be fair, this is a Japan-based company, so their culture is a little bit different. And the Japanese in general
are way not only more accepting of this, but this, like, all parts of this is a typical part of mangas and anime. At some point the heartthrob guy ends up in a dress and he's prettier than all the girls. Like, that is a normal thing.
Yep. So, I will say this though. One of the biggest issues, and once again, I'm stating this as the game puts it out there, is that the achievement is officially called Crossdresser. That's what you obtain if you do this. And so it's been labeled as the cross-dressing scene. So a lot of people think that could be extremely hurtful to people's feelings if that scene is still left in the game. I personally don't agree with that. I think that it's a part of the game, and it led to some somewhat story compelling parts, and it's their culture. That's how it is over there. They made the game. They kind of have the right to make the game how they want.
Mm-hmm.
Play it or don't, your choice. Watch it or don't, your choice. But yeah, like I said, touchy subject for people. I'm not out here to make fun of anybody. That's why I said I'm strictly sticking to exactly how the game does it and exactly how the game
Yep.
is described, and I have done that to a T. Anyways, moving forward. The best part is that now we get to make fun of Cloud because Tifa does not recognize that that's Cloud, and Tifa does not know who Aerith is. So Aerith goes, Tifa. She's like, wait, who are you? And Aerith announces herself. She's like, well, how do you know me? And she's like, well, Cloud brought me here. And she's like, well, where's Cloud? To which you then notice Cloud has been hiding in the corner on the complete opposite side of the room because he does not want Tifa to see that he is dressed as a female to come in here and to save her. At which then Tifa gives the appropriate response we all thought, which she starts laughing and says, oh my god, Cloud, is that you? At which they both decide to then say that he looks pretty, or that he looks very pretty in his dress and is probably the prettiest woman there in the dungeon, obviously picking on him, which is pretty great. And which Cloud is not all about. At all. Anyways, but then Cloud basically, or I'm sorry, Tifa then gets extremely jealous of how good looking Aerith is and the fact that she's with Cloud and she doesn't know who Aerith is. So this is where the love triangle officially starts, if you will. Both of them kind of being a little threatened of each other. So then you get to go up to the boss man room. Good old Dawn.
I love that they're feeling threatened of each other, and Cloud is like, I would do anything to not be doing this.
Yes, exactly.
Right now.
Right,
like,
right.
I would slaughter people to not be doing it.
Exactly.
Right now.
It's pretty great, honestly. It's really fucking funny.
Oh,
the overall scene. Hopefully we can actually edit that entire scene in, which would be pretty great. So you guys can
He's
watch
probably
this scene
not
going
even
on.
looking at the two attractive women. Like, he's just really busy.
He is extremely, like, in HD graphics, I'm pretty sure his cheeks are rosy fucking red, and it has nothing to do with makeup. He is extremely shy about the fact that he is there in a dress. Anyways, so we get called up to the Big Don himself, which he is by far the creepiest and most disgusting, fat, ugly, rapey-ish type guy, for sure. For sure. And he's hounding all over his desk at the three lovely ladies being brought in front of him, running back and forth on which one I'm going to take, which one looks the best to me. Judging on who you take, a certain order of the characters kind of bust into the room to save the other one. But if Cloud does not get picked, you do officially, the way it happens is that Don takes his choice and leaves the other two to his men. Which they get thrown into a room with 10 guys who are all they basically act like zombies. They just put their hands up and like, girls, girls, and start walking towards them. Obviously, if Cloud is one of the girls who gets rejected, you then get into fight scenes with all of them as Cloud, once again, he's back in his normal outfit at this point, because that's how he, like, stuns them. He, like, does a cool little, cloud spin, and all of a sudden he's back in his normal clothes, and they're like, oh my god, it's a guy, rushing him, and then they go to attack, and whoever got rejected with you also helps in the fight. If Cloud is picked, the girls just beat the shit out of the guys, which is pretty cool, and they come in to save Cloud. The best part is that when they bust in, he's like, wait, what is this? And then Cloud then decides to reveal that he is not a woman, but a man, and does, once again, his cool little spin back in his normal clothes. And they go to get information out of the Dawn. The cool part is that he's not willing to talk until certain things are said. So he's on the bed, and Cloud decides to raise his leg and lay it on the bed, or his foot, and then put it on the bed, and says, if you don't tell me, I'll cut it off. Then he starts to talk, and then they get to another part of information that he doesn't want to say, and then Tifa decides to put her foot on the bed and says, you tell me, what did she say? Did she say rip it off? Maybe. I think she says rip it off. She might not, though. She might say take it off or something like that. I don't know. I think she says rip it off, though. And then, because it has to do with their weapons, and she fucking uses her fist to fight. Because I know she doesn't say beat it off. That's for sure. We know that didn't happen. And then Aerith puts her foot on the bed, and once again, after they get a little bit more information, and says, you tell me, are damn. I don't remember what she says either, because everything makes me want to say the word "beat it off" now. I know that doesn't get said, but she definitely has a poll. I don't know. Whack it off? I don't know. I don't know. Either way, basically at this point, he gives information, or someone is going to do something horrible to his genitals. Not saying it shouldn't happen. It definitely should happen. But they end up getting ready to leave. They get to the foot of his bed, and he goes, "Honestly, do you know why I told you all this information anyway?" And he's got this dumb shit, and it only happens twice. You really only run into him twice in a game. But he's got this thing where he likes to like play mind games, and he's not an important character at all. Like after the second time, and I'm okay with saying this because it's really not a spoiler. After the second time you see him, you literally never see him again. Like he's not an important character, but he likes to play mind games. So it's like, "Do you want to know why I told you?" And they actually buy into it, which sucks. But anyways, he pulls this lever on his bed, and it drops them down into this dungeon below. And that is where we will end this episode. You've gotten probably through the darkest part of the game at this point, I feel. Well, as far as creepy dark. The actual plot itself with, murder and shit like that, that's a completely different story, which that makes the story good. This is a very questionable part of the game that a lot of people would like to see removed. A lot of people wouldn't like to see removed. I'm completely fine with it staying in. I've got no issues. I feel it was an interesting take. You never saw that before with like the hero of the game, like to see Cloud go through those limits to be able to get in there to save Tifa, I think is a good way to look at that personally, in my opinion. He went through a lot of shit in order to go in and be able to save Tifa.
We often see, well, just from a different perspective, somebody who knows nothing about this, but we often see men being willing to fight and do these really super aggressive things in order to protect the people that they care about. But these non-aggressive these non-aggressive decisions, whether it's like, "Oh, I'm not going to go fight, I'm actually going to be the person that stays back and helps take care of things back here because that's the best way to solidify this relationship, that's the best way to protect this person." Like those are things we see less often, so I appreciate the inclusion of that, because from what you're telling me, it sounds like this was challenging for Cloud to do. Like,
it was.
this is not something he would normally do. This was absolutely something that he had to push himself to do out of a desire to protect this woman that he cares about. Whether it's to whatever degree that the character chooses, obviously, or the player chooses. It's just where it gets super rapey that I'm like, this is getting uncomfortable.
Yeah. Once again, as we talked, things are different over there.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Things are different over there. And that's that is what it is. There's nothing we can do to change that, but it is part of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah. And I am uploading a picture of the Dawn for you, by the way, so you can see this bachelor.
Oh, good, because I need this image in my head.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. So you can see this lovely bachelor. Yeah.
Much less intimidating in Polygon.
Right? Fair enough. I'll give you that.
Yeah, in HD, way more freaked out, but in this, I'm less threatened. I'm not going to have a nightmare about that.
Fair enough. I guess I should post this. So first we will post.
No,
it's not that bad.
Okay.
First, we will post officially what Cloud looks like in the game, and then we will post Cloud in his lovely dress. So this is Cloud's exact game model from the front, just like Dawn's was. That is what our hero looks like. Yes, I know. His arms. They're great. Everybody's arms look like that.
That's so stupid.
And this is Cloud in his lovely dress.
He is the prettiest of damsels.
Exactly. I like how they even did his hair up and fucking... Which I don't know where those no, it's a wig, Duckers. I was about to say, I don't know where those pigtails came from, but Duckers was a wig. I'm a fucking idiot sometimes, I'll tell you. I just get on a roll and I just keep going. The fact that people have decided to make deviant art of this is crazy. This right here is pretty intense, honestly. But with some HD graphics, I'm pretty sure we're going to get something along these lines. Yeah, people
still the prettiest of damsels.
People have really jumped pretty hardcore into this whole Cloud dressed up, which is great. Which led me to this other picture too, which I thought was hilarious, which literally basically shows Cloud's exact emotions. And once again, this is a fan drawn picture as well. but Cloud's exact emotions about what's going on, and this is like them three in the lineup, and you see like Tifa's shoulder, Aira's shoulder, and Cloud just does not want to be there at all.
That is an amazing photo. Or the amazing drawing, excuse me. That's
Oh man.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
And he's pretty broad-shouldered for a woman.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. You know, I'm pretty sure he's still wearing his clothes on underneath that. So, because like I said, he just does a spin and rips them off, and yeah, you know, he's good to go from that spot. What's funny is that there's actually, which I think after you listen to the entire story and whether you actually like this story or not, there is actually a abridged version. The people who make those abridged series I was telling you about, they made one called a Mission Abridged, where they actually go through and play the game and they just do comedy the entire time. Like they took away all the dialogue and then did their own dialogue to it. Because once again, there's no audio dialogue to this game. It's just text. You read the entire game. So they made their own text, and the fucking dress keeper in the abridged series is hilarious. He's like this Italian Giuseppe is what they name him. He's like, "Hi, the Giuseppe." He sounds just like fucking Mario, literally just like fucking Mario, and it's hilarious. And like, it's something that's done throughout the game, where like Cloud will be talking to somebody, like not throughout the game, well throughout the Machina Bridge. You never hear about the dressmaker again. I'm pretty sure his name's not Giuseppe either, but basically like in the Machina Bridge, like they'll be saying something about Cloud, and Cloud will like awkwardly like say something like, "Oh yeah, no, your suit looks good," and somebody like, "Yeah, thanks, it's a Giuseppe classic." And they keep mentioning him, and it's fucking hilarious. I fucking love it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Every Monday we do fucking reactions to that, so it's pretty fucking awesome. I love
so
that
it's
series.
fresh on your mind.
Yeah, it's fresh on my mind for sure. With today being, Tuesday. So, anyways, now we're at the fan favorite, which I don't know if it's fan favorite, but it's my favorite, where Kelsey picks another character for us to dive deep into. And not deep at all.
Tell me about Barrett.
Barrett Wallace. Barrett Wallace grew up in a town called Corral, North Corral. It is a mining town, or used to be a mining town, until Shinra came with their electric company generators to, do all that. They thought that because there was so much coal that they could probably get a good like condensed energy out of the earth, since it was already doing that with other natural resources, and be able to get a good flow of Mako to make more materia. Won't go too much further than that because that does come into a little bit of the Barrett arc. Barrett was married and had a wife. She did get ill. She didn't pass away from an illness though. And let's see, what else? What else can I tell you about Barrett that's not spoiler? I can't tell you about Marlene, and I can't tell you how he got the gun on his hand. Just know it's a tragedy, and that's how he got the gun on his hand. He grew to hate Shinra because his town was like a coal town, and obviously with the Mako reactor being put in, that kind of slowed down work for that. Coal became irrelevant, and other reasons that we won't go into yet became big hatred for Shinra, and found out about Avalanche, chose to set up a shop in Midgar, and left North Corel in order to try to form a team of Avalanche in order to stick it to Shinra directly, and take them on back then. And it's actually funny because Barrett's personality is actually a huge switch from how he used to act to how he acts now. In North Corral, he wasn't like really loud and cussing and shit like that. Like he was kind of like a little bit different, to where, oh good lord, I saw this and I have to post it. Yeah, this is happening. This is no, there it is. This is the scene that I would rather forget. But that is before the hot tub. Yeah. Yep. That is before the hot tub. Literally right before the hot tub. And then the screen goes black, and we remember the rest of, what we think might have happened, what we all agree didn't happen, because I don't think that would happen, because like I said, it doesn't play in Cloud's character. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So it's actually kind of cool that his overall just like his personality, where he just became more of like this. I've got to be. Obviously, these guys are very big, and in order to get their attention, he kind of became that like irrational, a leader type deal, where like whoever yells the loudest is the person who's heard, and takes it to the extremes, even to the point where they start to do borderline terrorism by blowing up reactors. So it's actually kind of interesting that he made such a switch, because before he was kind of like the guy that was kind of a little bit more easygoing and just stuff like that. And so basically, with that being said, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but obviously some shit went down between Shinra and North Corral for such a huge change to happen to Barrett, which we will dive into. Actually, not too far away from now. We are getting close to leaving Midgar, and I think North Corral is. I think like the fourth or fifth place you visit. I'll know by the time we get there, but because some of these places that we're gonna go to, they don't have as much story time. Like literally, the next place we go to, you literally just get a little bit more deeper dive into Cloud, and then they leave. Like Midgard takes up a huge portion of the game, which is why we're still here. Like a huge portion of the game. So once we get out of Midgard, like whenever I say we're like 5 places away, we're really more like 1.5 from getting to North Grell. A lot of these places don't have a lot of story behind them. So it's more of like you go there because you're on a search for something and you're looking for clues, and then you leave. So, but yeah, that's where we're at. That is Mr. Barrett Wallace, the leader of Avalanche. Mr. He
Right.
yells, he screams, he gets mad,
He cusses.
he
He beats something
cusses,
up.
he does stuff like that. Yeah, it's
He seems like fun at parties.
yeah,
Not parties in your own house. Like parties definitely where somebody else is footing the bill for the property damage.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh my God, I almost forgot the most important information they get from the Don. Oh my God. So if you already didn't hate Shinra, the last piece of information they get from him, which is what makes him turn around in the first place as they're leaving, is the fact that Shinra plans to blame Avalanche not only for the obviously the reactors blowing up, but Shinra plans. They actually found out that Tifa's bar is their hideout in the Sector 7 slums, and they plan to drop the entire seventh plate down, killing everybody in the Sector 7 slums in order to destroy the Avalanche hideout.
Oh my gosh, they're willing to kill everyone?
Everybody in the Sector 7 slums. Hundreds of people.
Gee.
So if you didn't already hate Shinra, you might a little bit now. Because I remembered, I remember Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith were really in a hurry to get out of the sewer they just got dropped into, but I can't remember why. Or I remember why, but I can't remember exactly how that played in. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Don told him. So yes, that was one of the biggest pieces of information. The other stuff, like they kind of were just trying to figure out, about Shinra and the president. He was not giving them hardly any information whatsoever. They were just trying to get closer to the whole Turks and shit like that. So yeah, it basically the last information they got was the fact that that shit's about to go down.
Whew.
Yep. So they're gonna drop the entire Sector 7 down onto the slums, killing everyone in the Sector 7 slums in order to
And
destroy the
blame
Avalanche
Avalanche.
hideout and hopefully get rid of Avalanche exactly in the process.
Holy nuts. That is a solidly evil plan. That's like
Right?
Cersei Lannister good.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
good.
did not think it was going to go. This is a kid's game, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. After this particular class of Dead Funny University, I'm going to solidly say this is not a kid's game.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a rating on this game. Is there a rating? T for teen. T for teen.
You should be a teen. You should be well into your teens to play this game.
Yeah, I would say 13 might be a tad bit too young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, back in those days to think what passed as ratings. What passed as ratings. Man.
Uh,
Man, oh man, oh man. Well,
yeah.
that is your story on Barrett. So
That is
far,
my story
before
on
we
Barrett.
officially wrap this up, thoughts Overall thoughts. I think it's a great place to ask because of the episode that we just had. Overall thoughts. Do you think that you would ever, first off, do you think you would ever hear of a game having a story that involved any of the things you heard tonight?
No, not in a major fantasy title. Like in one of those weird like one-off Steam games that you hear about, they show up on these
Yep.
lists that are like, "Can you believe anybody made a game like this?" And you're like, "Ah, morons, who play this?" Like you'd only play it as a joke with your friends to be like, "Look how horrible this is," and then you turn it off and go do something else. Like that is the only context in which some of this makes sense. And so the idea that this is part of a major fantasy title is kind of blowing my mind a little bit, especially because I know you pretty well, I think. And
That's pretty fair.
yeah, yeah. And for you to go through, like, for as you're telling me this, I'm like, game between the graphics and this particular everything we've covered in this episode, or class, excuse me, the rest of this game must be freaking amazing for you to do this 1,000 times. Like, my guess is after a while, you're like, yep, I know what's going on. I'm just gonna keep doing it. Like,
I will say there is a little thing called three times mode. And what three times mode is it allows you to go through the game three times the speed. Wall Market is definitely one of the places where I use three times mode to get in and out of Wall Market as fast as possible. Not a fan of Wall Market. And if it wasn't for the fact that I needed the achievement for Don, I don't know how to say his name correctly, but anyways, we're gonna go with what I've been saying, Carino, to pick Cloud. That's an actual achievement. Because normally you can just get the
mm-hmm,
dress and the wig and that's it,
mm-hmm.
and just go. You don't need everything else. The dress and the wig you have to have. Everything else is optional, 100% optional. But if you want Cloud to get picked, you need to try to get every single item and the best version of every single item. And that's the only way that Cloud's going to get picked. So, because if he doesn't pick
Uh-huh.
you, I think he picks Tifa. I think it's always you and Aerith that end up getting put in the room. I don't think he ever picks Aerith. I think it's just Tifa. But I could be wrong about
Okay,
that.
so canon, the rapey crime boss thinks Tifa's prettier than Aerith. Good to know.
But it might just be based on how many items you get. I think it's like if you only get the wig and the dress, he picks Tifa. If you get a couple more items, then he picks Aerith, and if you get all the items, he picks Cloud. So it just might be item based, like how many of the key items you got in order to do the scene. So regardless,
I,
unfortunately, the achievement was only for getting him to pick Cloud. So
I am also really excited that there's chocobo drawn carriages. That's really cool
right, right,
in a non-creepy way.
yeah. Although I mean, the guy was literally bringing Tifa to the Dawn, but you know.
Yeah, no, that part's creepy, but the fact that these things exist is not creepy.
I'm glad you like the Chocobos. The Chocobos are such a big version of like the Final Fantasy world. It's so great. I
They
love it.
seem adorable.
Oh my god, I can't wait till we actually get not our next place we're going to, which is called Calm, but the next one we're going to is actually Billy's Chocobo Farm. Man, do I have a video that you have to watch before we officially do that episode, because oh my god, are you gonna love it. Uh, let's just
I
say
am really
the moment you
intrigued
get there,
by.
they decide to entertain you. That's pretty great.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean
Oh,
that
I'm
in
so
the
excited.
purest of ways. I know our episode was kind of weird. I mean that in the purest of ways, which is pretty great. But anyways, continue.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Yeah, I was just gonna say I am really interested to know who this voice in his head is.
Fair enough.
Because it seems like he doesn't know, right?
Right.
I haven't missed something.
Nope.
He's not aware of who this is or what's going
Correct.
on.
He asked who are you like three times whenever he passed out due to the fall from the reactor down into the
And it
church.
also seems like he's not telling people. Like he's not like looking at Aerith like, "Hey, somebody's talking to me in my head. Isn't that funny?" Like he's definitely keeping it to
Well,
himself.
Tifa knows there's something up with Cloud, and that's due to the fact that they're childhood friends. She kind of said it
Yeah.
at the bar, and the way the events rolled out without you actually watching it as it's going, it's kind of hard to keep that going along. So just to remind
Hmm.
you, she kind of feels there's something up with Cloud,
Yeah.
and her getting him to join Avalanche is a way for her to be able to keep an eye on him. But you also get a very like big feeling that there's some stuff Tifa's not telling Cloud either, and that grows
Oh, good.
and
Because
grows and grows.
the best thing in a team I've learned is
It's
everybody
yeah.
keeping secrets from each other. It works very well that way.
The best part. out of all this is Barrett has nothing to do with any of this, which is great. Like, he's just there. Barrett is
He's literally
legitimately
just there to be a tank.
And because this literally has nothing to do with the story, and obviously I've said multiple times that there's only specific character models that can officially be on the map, Barrett is the leader of Avalanche. Whenever they finally get out of Midgard and decide to pick a leader, everybody picks Cloud. Barrett's not happy about it, by the way. So Barrett legitimately is just there to just be part of the team. Like, he does get his little character arc. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. It's not too insanely long, which out of the 1,000 times I've seen it, once again, Barrett's not my favorite character, so I don't really care to see it as much as I have, but I get it. There are Barrett fans. I know people who literally love Barrett. Like, that's their favorite fucking character. And he's cool. Don't get me wrong. I love every character on the team. There's legitimately not a character on the team where I look at it and I go, wow, I would rather play. Like, even better, I had this picture. I know I showed you the pictures. They definitely weren't on the fucking thing, and I don't plan on putting them up either. But, like, I had a picture of, like, the entire team, and it was like their little portraits, and then like I took a picture of VII from Final Fantasy IX, and I was messing with Mike, and I added him to the portraits, but he was like outside of the portraits because it's the only place to put him because it was like in a diamond shape. And Mike was like, why didn't you just put them, or why didn't you just put him over somebody? And I was like, I physically didn't want to cover up one of the characters. Like, that's how much I actually love those characters. Like, I love VII. I think he's like one of the best things to happen to the Final Fantasy franchise. I would love for the fact that he would have been in 7 versus fucking 9 because I love 7 so much. He's the only character I give a shit about outside of 7, honestly. The other characters are cool, but he's the only character I really give a shit about outside of fucking 7. I love that every single one of the cast. Like, I love every single one of the characters. I don't use them all because they're not my favorites. My team for sure is Tifa, Cloud, and Red 13, or Nanaki. But I love every single one of the cast. I wouldn't trade any of them out for anything, and it's because they all have like these character arcs, and that is what hopefully you'll gather from this is like as we go on, there is a story to the game. And not only is there a story to the game, there's multiple stories that take you in different directions, but they all lead to the end. So it's like you can see multiple things happening every time you play the game, and you might see like an actual spot that you didn't notice the first time through, which is really interesting to me. And then on top of that, every single one of these characters have their own story as well that develop into why they want to help you fight and finish the game, which is extremely interesting as well, especially when you have such a huge cast. So to go through every single one of their stories and hear their entire story from start to finish and see how it ties in. Some of it ties into like shit that went down way before. Some of it ties into like just that fucking moment. Like, it's crazy. It's all over the place, and it's one of those things where it's like playing it so many times, I've been able to focus on a specific aspect just so that way I know like that to completion now, and it makes it that much more interesting to me to then go back and play it again and see how that fits in so well and ties up so many things that I had questions about before that I now know just because I focused on that character story. Because there's multiple times, and this is a throw out to the people who want to play the game, due to who's in your party, certain conversations happen. So you can go through the game and not literally find out certain things because you didn't have that person in your party. Like, for instance, Vincent, which I've already told you is a completely missable character in the game. Even his last weapon and last limit breaker are completely missable as well if he's not in your party when you go to this one specific place. And there's no reason for you to go there but that you find it on accident. But if you walk in there, he's not in your party, you walk in, you're like, all right, cool, waterfall, and then you just turn around and leave. Like, nothing pops up, nothing says, hey, add Vincent to your team. It's all missable. And I think they did that on purpose because they wanted you to be able to sit there and play with all these different things and try to figure all this shit out for yourself. Like, this is one game where you had to figure shit out for yourself if you didn't have the strategy guide. Nothing babysitted you in this game. There's no marker that tells you to go here or anything. Like, it is 100%, you're just figuring shit out. Pay attention to what the characters are talking about, because if you don't know what they're talking about, you have no idea where the fuck you're going next. And then you're just set off into the world. Good luck, bro. So.
Interesting.
But that's enough of my rant.
Well, that will wrap up our second class of the Final Fantasy VII semester. If you heard anything you disagree with, if there's even a tiny detail that got wrong, please feel free to jump in the comments and let us know. Chris will argue with you. I will stay out of it until the dust settles, and I'll just, like, I don't know, probably wave a white flag. If you enjoyed this content, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notifications so you know when to come to class.
Yeah.
If you want to contact us directly, please contact us on Twitter or on our Twitch links, which you can find in the links below, and we will hopefully see you next class. Bye, friends.